Okay, let's go over some pros and cons about the Ownboard W1A. Now, a lot of these are just based on personal preference, so let's begin with the cons. First of all, there's almost no flex in this board. It's a really stiff board, but I mean, it's not necessarily a bad thing. Some people prefer no flex. If you're used to a Meepo or a Walgo or even the Ownboard W1, just keep in mind that this board has pretty much no flex. So if you live in an area where the roads are really rough, that might be something you need to consider. But on smooth roads, it's perfectly fine. Like if you're mostly going to be skating in a place like this, where the roads are totally smooth, it's totally fine. Another reason that the ride is so stiff is that when you're standing on this board, you are pretty much standing on top of the trucks. So because your feet are right on top of the trucks, anytime you hit any kind of a bump, you feel it. It doesn't get absorbed by the deck. I mean, you could stand like this, like a regular skateboard, but standing like this is kind of difficult if you're riding for a long time. The next thing is kind of a big issue. If you live in a place that has a lot of slopes, like if you live on a hill, because this board, it can't stop on a hill. It can't stop on a slope. I'm braking with the lever, but it doesn't stop. Like I'm not even standing on it, but it can't stop on a slope. This is like even on a very gentle slope. So if you're at a red light and you're on a slight slope, you have to get off the board because it won't be able to hold you in place. The next con is that there's no smart turn on, meaning on a lot of boards you can just push the board and it'll turn on. On a lot of boards, if you do that, it'll turn on by itself. But this one, it doesn't have that feature. You have to push the button on the side to turn it on. It's you know, it's one of those things that's nice to have. It's like a car ignition. Like on modern cars, you don't even have to turn the key to turn it on. You just have to have the key on you. If you're used to the smart turn on feature on other boards, you'll probably wish that this one had it. But if this is going to be your first board, I mean, you're not even going to miss it. But just be aware, there's no smart turn on. All right, just a couple of other small items. This one is kind of a nitpick, but when you move this direction lever down, it goes forward. When you move the lever up, the board goes backwards. It's just kind of weird that up is reverse and down is forward. It doesn't matter at all, but just so you know. Here's another nitpick that doesn't really affect how you ride. The trucks on this board are not perfectly lined up. You can see that it's kind of pointing a little bit to the right. So if I just kick the board, it moves to the right. I mean, it makes absolutely no difference when you're riding because you can't even feel it. If you want to go straight, you'll be able to go straight. You're not going to feel like it's pulling to the right. So that's all the cons I have for this board. Let's talk about the pros now. So the biggest pro, of course, is the kicktail. I mean, you might think that having a kicktail is not really a big deal and that if you need to change the trajectory of your board, you can just step off the board. But I mean, when you have it, it's really handy. To me, it's kind of like the difference between using a mouse and using keyboard shortcuts, because the other way to do it is to get off the board and just kind of nudge the board with your feet. You know, with a kicktail, you don't have to do that. You can just, I mean, you can even step off the board and use the kicktail to change your direction. It's just a lot more convenient. Another pro is that the turn radius on this board is pretty good. Some people are worried about wheel bite, but I've never had that. I don't think it would happen because look at how tall this board is. The risers on this deck are also pretty big, so I don't think you're gonna have wheel bite. This wheel on the remote is pretty good. It gives you pretty good control over how fast you want to go. Let me show you. So if you want to go slow, you can go slow, and if you want to go fast, you can go fast. It gives you very fine control. Next is the power indicator. This board does not have a power indicator on the board itself, but it does have it on the remote, and it's pretty good. My only complaint here is that you have to push this button on the side to see how much power is left. Full power would be 4 solid lights, and then it goes down to 3 solid lights and 1 blinking light. It gives you a very good idea of how much power you have left. So right now I'm at 1 solid light and 1 blinking light, so I'm probably somewhere between 25 and 50%. And finally, just like the Meepo and the Walgo and the Ownboard W1, there's a carrying handle. Now my unit does not have one, but I talked to Ownboard. They said that they actually now have a handle for the W1A. Okay, that's it. I'm gonna continue exploring this area and use up the battery so that I can complete this range test. Thank you for putting up with my hair. I know it looks ridiculous. I need a haircut. So yeah, let's keep going. Like and subscribe.